Well, it started out bad. Everything's floating down there. Looks like I have about 18 inches down here. Everything's just floating in water. Just get busy. Yeah, then things just seemed to get worse, didn't they? Eventually we lost our marbles, but we just kept going. Welcome to Keeper of the Mountain. Today's little bit is brought to you by sheer determination. That's right. Oh man, I tell you what, there's a lot of problems with this basement. And today, we're gonna finish the job. We're gonna just wipe this thing out. I am so ready to be done with this project, so let's get cracking. If the other problems I had weren't bad enough, check this out. This is a big gnarly crack in the wall. And we have several of them. And then I have a variety of holes. Now the thing about these cracks is that when I bought the house, they were here and it was required that they patch the holes. So they got this black stuff here. This is called hydraulic cement. And they took hydraulic cement and they just wiped it over the hole to cover the hole. The problem is, within a month or so, the cracks were back. Well, I want to do the best I can to fix these cracks. Now, quite honestly, I am not a mason. I really don't know that much about masonry, what to do with it, how to fix it, that kind of stuff. So I am gonna go back in my mind. There was a big earthquake in the Los Angeles area. I know that's not a news flash. But this was called the Northridge earthquake, and it destroyed a lot of stuff. But it also broke a lot of stuff that it didn't destroy. There were a lot of houses with plaster and a lot of houses with drywall that had big cracks from the earthquake in it. So I worked for a company and we went and fixed a bunch of drywall. Now, I'm no drywall expert and I'm no plaster expert, but I learned a few things. Let me show you what I learned. See this groove right here that I've cut? When you have a crack in plaster, you dig a groove, not unlike this. And then you take new plaster and you put in the hole. And that's just how they repaired it. Now if you have drywall and you have a crack, you do that and then you put this tape on it that's made of fiberglass. It's this mesh tape. You've seen it before. It looks like this, and you put that over it, and then you drywall mud over it. I thought, well, man, those are all good ideas. Then I did some tile work in my bathroom, and when I did the tile in my bathroom, when I rebuilt this north side of my house, they had this tape. Let me show you. They had this tape here, and this tape here was is designed for masonry products to do the same thing as drywall tape, only it's for masonry. Because when you do tile and you put down that cement board, some people call it Durock board because Durock's the people that make it, you put this tape, this gray mesh tape, I'll give you a close-up of it. See, you can see right through it. It's mesh. Anyway, you put this stuff on the seams between the concrete board, and then you use thin set, which is the glue that holds tile down, It's kind of a masonry, sticky, really tough product that's designed to hold the tile to the Durock. Works really well. And when you do that, it keeps those cracks from forming between the Durock sheets and thus slows down the possibility of cracks in your tile work. So I thought, let's take all those different trades and pile them into one and come up with a process. So here is what I have come up with. I'm going to take this tape right here. I am going to cover, at least this is my plan, I'm going to cover this wall as best I can. Now this stuff isn't super sticky like the stuff for walls, but you'd think it would be, but it's not. But I'm gonna have to put this stuff on the wall and then cover it with thin set. Now why thin set? Well, it's really tough glue-like stuff, and I have a bunch of it. I have leftovers from my house, from when I did the bathroom. I got way more than I needed, and then I never returned it when I should have. Now I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm sure gonna find out. So let's mix some up and see what happens. I have these bottles of water that have expired now. Yeah, water doesn't expire, but the bottles that the water comes in do expire, I guess, and mess with the water that's in there. And so, as a result, I'm using it to mix this stuff up. Well, that looks sticky enough. Let's try that. There we go. Got the first coat on with all the mesh tape behind it. Looks a lot better. We'll see. I'll probably go over it with another skim coat. This cracks here is pretty brutal, but you know, I did it too, and it'll definitely get a second coat. It's really rough, but we'll see. We'll see how she turns out. This one goes behind the post, so it's a little hard to finish, but this isn't gonna be like a smooth wall finish. This is gonna be just a rough patch. But we'll see what we can do with it. Make it easier to paint. We'll see what's up when it's done. Well, it's been a few days. I got this stuff on the wall, okay, I know this isn't good for, you know, selling something, but I ain't selling it. This is what I used. I had this left over. This Ultra Plus, you know, leftover gray mortar stuff for setting tile. I put it on the walls. It's a little rough. It's dry now. You know, a little gray here, a little brownish there. It's just different mixes, I guess. But a couple spots in the wall, like right here, there's a little bit of moisture seeping through the wall. The stuff looks wet, but it's not. I mean, well, it is, but it's cured. I don't know if the paint's gonna stick to that or the primer or anything. We're gonna give it a shot. And here we are over here. You see the dark black, that's the old hydraulic cement. And then the lighter gray stuff is what I use to try to fix the cracks. So let's see what we can do. Was I went and got me some Kills Original Interior Exterior Primer, all weather sealer and severe stain blocker. It's an oil-based stain, and I did something different. Anybody who has ever gotten Kills knows that it comes bright white. Now, my walls are gray. I want them to stay gray. I want them to maybe be a little more uniform gray. I don't know, but I certainly don't want them bright white. So I figure when I'm done priming, I'm gonna paint it gray. So in order to not have to try to cover bright white stain, I had my stain colored. I haven't put a shot of black in it and turned it gray. Now you got to think twice when you do that, when you have your primer colored, because if you're not sure this is the product you want to use and you get it colored, well, you know what? That's too bad. You got it colored, you own it. You're going to have to use it somewhere or just toss it. But I had done my research and decided this is what I wanted to do. So now let's see if my research was worth anything. You know, it's funny, when I started this project, I had the tool for opening up cans of paint. It's a special tool just for that process. And I brought it down here so I could use it. You think I can find it? Of course not. Whoa, this stuff has a strong odor. That's because it's oil-based. Look at that. Okay, you can see the pigment. Let's make sure it's nice and mixed up here before we start using it. I wonder how this is going to cover on this wall. I thought about rendering the wall because of how rough it is with the same stuff that I patched the cracks with. But I don't have enough to do the whole wall, and I didn't want to wait for it to dry, and I thought that's an awful lot of work to go through for a basement wall. So anyway, let's get a brush here. I'm using disposable brushes because this is oil-based. And this is the only thing I use oil-based paint for the most part, so there's no sense in investing in all that stuff to clean brushes. Well, that looks pretty good. Let's get a bunch of this done and see what happens. See how it turns out. Probably kind of hard to tell, but this wall is so stinking rough that it's going to take a long time, so I'm going to shut the camera off, turn on the tunes, and just work on this. I don't have a time-lapse camera, so sorry about the time-lapse thing not happening. I'll just show you the finished product when I get done or frustrated and give up. Well, okay, so I started right there and I worked my way around. You can see how far a gallon got me. Right up to this post. I don't know. You tell me. Is it worth it? And man, does it smell! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Check out these two pictures. You tell me. This is with it primered, and this is with it not primered. You tell me what you think. Yes, the drill bit is old and rusty, but you know what? That's the first 4 holes I've drilled with this bit ever. I bought it brand new, hung it on the wall in my shop, and the roof leaked on it. That's the reason we're doing this basement, because I've got to get that fixed. Hold this right like this so the line is just touching the top of the board. Just barely.
Top or
like this top edge, like right like that. Yeah, perfect. Beautiful. And just like that, we have the top rail for part of the shelf up. And yeah, it's not perfect, but like I've been saying, we are not building the Taj Mahal, we're building a basement wall. It's a big difference. That's cool. Well, it's been a few months since I got the top shelf done. This thing right here behind me. But now, you know, life gets in the way sometimes. Sorry it took so long. Everyone has responsibilities in their life, including myself, and sometimes those responsibilities just overshadow having fun, such as in making YouTube videos. I really love this. I've been doing this for 15 years or more, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe longer. I don't remember. But I suppose I could look back at my old videos and see how old my oldest one is, but yeah, somebody else can do that. The reality is, I am back at it. I'm going to be working on this basement. We now need to build the bottom shelves and clean up, and we should be done. Get a good reveal. So let's get cracking on it. Oh, but first I got to show you my new hat. This is a cool hat. If you've ever done a YouTube video or even expressed your opinion on the internet, you know there's always a dozen people out there ready to tell you how wrong you are, right? I was in the store just yesterday and I found this hat, and I think you'll like it. Isn't that precious? You know, if you can't laugh at yourself, don't worry, somebody else will do it for you. Don't take yourself too serious. Just make a video and move on, and just smile when people tell you you're wrong. Because you know what? You probably are. Just like I'm probably wrong. That's the way it works. Let's get busy building. Okay, as you can see, I now have all the framing. I have legs, all the framing and everything's ready to go for the bottom half now. We did the upper shelves before, they're all finished. Now we just need to put countertops on. And you know, I was trying to think of a good way to do these countertops. Before, I used pallet wood. And I think it looks pretty cool and everything, and it would look just as cool down here. However, one thing by looking at the edge you can see is how uneven it becomes, because pallet wood, depending on the pallet you get it from, is different thicknesses, and I am not going to take the time to sort all that out. And if I even want to use this countertop for anything other than just stacking boxes or things, if I want to rebuild a carburetor or something on this counter, well, it needs to be smooth. It needs to be usable. So what I've decided to do, I went and got me 2 sheets of OSB. And if I cut that in 2 lengthwise, I'll have 4 8-foot long by 2-foot strips of wood. One 8-footer will go there. Another one will start in the corner and come out to right about here. That'll be 2 of them. And then the third one will reach down here, and that'll leave me a whole half left over to do that little piece. That's pretty cool. It'll take me 3 halves and a part to make this countertop. I have 2 sheets. That'll give me 4 halves, and I need 3 and a part. So looks good to me. Think I should get busy, try to get this made. Now there's gonna be a problem. You saw me run the string line from this end to this end and draw a straight line so that I get the front of this straight. And you know why I did that instead of just measuring off the wall? There's a reason for that. This wall is 105 years old. It was poured in 1920. So it's not straight, not anymore. Over time, the middle of this wall has moved in this way almost 2 inches. It's 24 inches at this end from front to back, and it's 24 inches front to back at that end, but in the middle it's only 22. And it's not even. So I'm gonna have to scribe fit this, and I gotta fit around this board and around that pipe. And that wall there is off by about 1/2 inch. So we're gonna get this all worked out. I'm gonna have to build me a tool. So let's build the tool first. Then we'll clean this up and chop these things up and scribe them and make them work. Alright, so here we go. I got from this point to here is 3 inches, and from this point to here is 10 inches. And you'll see why I need that. Well, you can see it's pretty tight against the wall here. There's a little gap down there at that end, but none up there. I'm only hanging about 1/8 of an inch over the edge here, so I think if I cut a little bit more off, everything will go where it's supposed to go. So I'm going to take my pen and I'm just going to lay it against the wall like this, and I'm going to scribe a little more out of that area right there. Let's do that and see if it fits better. Well, that's a beautiful fit right there. It goes just right where I want it. Now, I'd be a lot more picky if this was like countertop in a kitchen or something, but this is in a 105-year-old basement. Predominantly, I'm just storing stuff, so that's pretty much flush with the edge. That'll make my nice edge for going the other direction. So let's try to make this corner. Well, that right there is not as bad as I thought it was going to be, because you know these corners this old of a basement aren't going to be square, but look at that. I'm tight here, and I got about 1/4 of an inch at that end. That's not bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to square that up. Well, would you look at that? I actually finished a project. Let's just take a minute to savor the moment. All right, check it out. New bench, a new shelf, all the lights one could ever want, even this one right here. I mean, look at the bench. Oh, look at all that light. Yeah. Check out this floor. It has turned out so nice. Now, it's not perfect, and that's how I wanted it. Remember, we talked about this. I wanted it to be an imperfect floor. A little bit wonky, a little bit wavy. I wanted it to look like it'd been here for 100 years. potatoes. I think I have captured that look. I mean, it's just a little bit wavy, but nothing you're gonna trip over. I'm pretty happy with that. Got these nice benches I can work off of. I got a shelf up here to store stuff on. Of course, we have the sump pump. Just really, we're in the middle of November, and that's important here because November is the rainiest month of the year. And it has really lived up to it this year. Check out this corner right here. See the little dark spots? That is the only hint of moisture in this whole place, and that's the farthest spot away from the drain tile I put in from that perf pipe. It'll be fine. I don't think we'll ever see more water than that. And once I get the gutters on the outside done, I don't think we'll even have that. How nice is it? I mean, it'll never be a living room, but it will be a place to do some work. This is also a good place right here on the bench to work on a small project, and also while you're at it, enjoy a small glass of organic potato juice. All right, let's get on with the next project.